Bye. My name is Josh Miller. I own Riverstone Kennels, and I've been training gun dogs for more than 16 years. I have field trialed, I've hunt tested, but at the end of the day, I'm a duck hunter. You might find that the duck in our DUK Dogs podcast is spelled uniquely. The UK stands for my British Labs. I love my British Labs. I love what they offer me, both as a part of my family and the high motor in the field. As you're going to find, I have some pretty special dogs. Follow along in our podcast series here as we talk about both in the field hunting and in the field training situations that will hopefully help you progress with your dog at home. Here we are with another episode of DUK Dogs, everybody. I'm your host, Josh Miller. And again, this is now day 3, and we're going to recap 2 and 3 here live from the great state of Arkansas at Riverstone Duck Camp. So before we get started here, let's make sure to thank our wonderful sponsors. Thank you to Eukanuba. Eukanuba Premium Performance Sport 3020 is the blend of food that we are feeding our dogs. It's what keeps them going, keeps them happy, healthy, and recovering faster so they can perform at their peak condition all the time in the field. www.eukanuba.com. Thank you to Gundog Supply. Gundog Supply is your one-stop shop for all of your hunting and training needs for your four-legged hunting partner. Great people, great products, great company. Go support them because they support you and what you love to do. Thank you to Sitka Gear. Sitka Gear is your premium option for outdoor clothing, whether it is your everyday wear, being active outside, or like us during the middle of the season, keeping us in the field longer and more comfortable. www.sitkagear.com. Also, thank you to Kent Cartridge. Kent Cartridge is the shotgun shell that we are shooting. We love this shell. We really enjoy the people inside this company, and specifically the Kent Bismuth. As I think Eric could attest to here in a little bit, it's noticeably, it's just great. It's a great round. So go check them out at Kent Cartridge. Thank you to Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is your 5-star crash test rated kennel, both in the intermediate and the large size. So no matter what size your dog is, you can be sure they're traveling as safe as they possibly can. Also check out the kennel cover, the kennel cot, the kennel pad, the kennel fan. They have a lot of great accessories to go with that kennel to make sure your dog stays as comfortable and as safe as they possibly can. www.luckyduck.com. And last but not least, thank you to Retriever Roadmap. Retriever Roadmap is your premium option for online training. Walks you through step-by-step with video content, a mega library that continues to grow, showing you different options that you'd have to take your dog from where you are to where you want to go. www.retrieverroadmap.com. So here we are, end of day 3 in Arkansas. And so again, I'm joined by Mr. Bret Ayers and Mr. Eric Shuddy. And am I still pronouncing that correctly? Shuddy?
Well, Shuddy.
Shuddy.
Nobody gets it right anyway. So
Shuddy.
Don't worry.
Eric Shuddy. We just say Eric. So
Yeah.
so that's what's tripping me up here. Coach Shuddy.
There you go.
Coach
There you
Shuddy. I
go.
like that. So we're going to recap day 2. We're going to recap day 3. But before I get into this, I don't know what time it is. It's probably
It's close
11,
to
10,
Yeah.
10, 11, something like that.
Somewhere in there. I don't know.
No, you're right. It's 10.
10 o'clock.
That was great. I think I know I'm starting to feel the grind a little bit.
I was feeling that after day 1.
Yeah, it's so like today we certainly are up early. We go get our set. We duck hunt and then we literally roll right into a spec hunt in the afternoon. Get done with that, tear down the spec spread, go move to set up for tomorrow, put the blinds up. So we're back late, we're eating late. You know, it's one of those things. And I want to be very, very clear. I'm not at all complaining. I'm just saying that the grind is hitting me. And Erica made a comment that, you said something to the fact that, like, wow, like I'm seeing the behind the curtain of, like, you guys really do make this podcast happen. It's not like you just have this extra time that you're filling. And I appreciate that, because it is something like, Bret and I really do try to make this time while we're on the road, and it's not easy, but we really enjoy it, and we love the camaraderie back and forth. And I think there's a lot of feedback that we've gotten that people love the live hunt stuff. And that's why we continue to do this, quite frankly. Because if people didn't like it, it's a heck lot easier to be sitting on the couch having a drink right now and relax and thinking about closing our eyes for the night. But we love it, and we love the feedback on it.
Yeah, we're going to get this done. Then I'm going to go inside. And I'm going to edit it. And then I'm going to get it up and hopefully be in bed by midnight. And then up again at 4:45 in the morning.
Right.
No, I see the behind the scenes, because you guys been doing this. I mean, as of right now, 10 o'clock, Bret's been working on the stories for probably the last 2-3 hours, getting that content out, and there was some fantastic stuff that happened today.
Yeah.
And I actually took a picture of you working on it as my wife's commenting on the stories coming through. I said, this is the man doing it right now as you speak over in the corner. And now tonight he'll be doing this podcast stuff. So it's, you guys talk about it. I'm seeing it firsthand. And I'm going to say this again, is I appreciate you both for what you're doing, because there's a lot of people that wait for this stuff to come out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's fun to do. It, as much of it is a grind, and it can wear on you. It's fun to do. It's fun to see the comments, and this is just fun to talk about. This is something we all love to do. So sharing this, getting it out to the public and letting them hear our experiences with what we're doing. I mean, that's as rewarding as it gets for me.
I think Eric has, like, the best radio voice I've ever heard.
Does.
I mean, he just has a fantastic radio voice,
First time I've heard that. I appreciate that. Maybe I have a professional change coming up, what I want to do. But
I was trying so hard today, like at the beginning of the hunt when it was kind of slow at one little point, to try to do my whole coach spiel, like walking up and down the blind, trying to do.
You did do it once.
I was so intimidated though, because
The real coach is sitting here.
He's like, this kid, he's got a lot of work to do.
Right. I'm sitting here, like, looking like, can I make my voice sound really good like his?
oh my goodness.
That's great.
Good
Okay,
stuff.
so some interesting stuff here the last couple days, and so Mother Nature, which has been a really common trend for us this year, has just continued to not want to cooperate with us. And so we have that big banger first day down, which was a great way to kick off the trip. I think we were all ecstatic. And then the whole farm freezes. And I mean, like, thick ice
half
freezes
inch.
out.
Yeah.
And we lost about everything. I mean, we shot a handful of ducks. Did we shoot a speck yesterday? I think we shot one speck
Yes,
yesterday.
One spec.
Yeah. I mean, it was just like, poof, everything's gone. And from the day before, I mean, it was it was wave upon wave upon wave, right? Like, I mean, you couldn't reload fast enough because the next group is coming in.
15 minutes before shooting time.
Yeah, until we were done. And then even after we were done, pouring. So different. And now we come into, it thawed out then yesterday. We started to see some birds kind of trickle in. And then today, it certainly wasn't the hunt of day one, but very successful. How many species of ducks did we shoot today? You said it.
So it was, go through it, speckle belly, snow goose, male shoveler, pintail, green wing.
And these are all just drakes.
No, these are drakes.
Yeah, these are all just the drakes we shot.
Drake mallard, And what am I missing?
Gadwall.
Gadwall?
Mm-hmm. Did you say Spoonie?
Yeah.
Yeah, the male Spoonie.
Yep.
And then when we got done with the hunt and looked at it, I looked at it and I go, look at all these different species. Not only, I mean, Drake species that we shot. And that made the day really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And that speckled belly, I'm sure you'll talk about, made it even better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't notice it until you said it. That look at the smorgasbord here of drakes, and it was really neat. It's I've talked a lot about in the past about how I'm not a pile pick guy at all. I just don't believe it's why I'm there. Now I have nothing against, hey, let's take a photo to have a memory, and quite frankly, I don't have anything specifically against, like, if you do like taking pile pictures. It's just, for me, it's not why I'm there. I think it creates jealousy. I think it creates a little bit of, it's bragging for sure, which I think there's a time and place to show something off, but I also don't believe that it's, as waterfowlers, what we need as a community. I feel like we tear each other down more than we ever lift each other up, and I think pile pictures just add to that, especially jealousy, I think, is a big part of it. And, we know how well we did. Like, we had a great hunt, right? But it wasn't the number of birds that made that special. It was something like, look at all the color and all the drakes, right? How about that one retrieve? How about the one situation that Scout handled? And it's just, those are the moments. And so, because of that, the reason I say that is because of that, I guess I just rarely stack birds up and look at them. And we just happen to have them laying there, and I think you noticed it, and you laid them out, and you're like, look at this. It was really fun to see that.
And each bird, a lot of those birds today had a story behind them on the retrieves.
100%.
And we'll probably get into that today. And those are the ones you remember the most, So it was a fun day.
Yeah.
The last 2 days, yesterday and today, Scout had three species that she's never retrieved before. Speckled belly yesterday.
Speckled belly.
Drake pintail today. And then that snow goose.
Snow goose.
Those were the three that
and the Drake Spoonie. Now, we get Spoonies in North Dakota. We try not to knock them down.
Hollywood.
Right.
Hollywoods, we call them. But we don't get many Drake Spoonies come in.
Right.
And so she did have one of those.
At least not colored up like
Colored
that.
up like that.
And he was in his Sunday attire.
He was looking good, showing off. Yeah. So, was there anything? I feel like yesterday was pretty well summed up, right? Not a whole lot happening. Again, shot a handful of ducks. There weren't any major retrieves that stuck out to me. At least unless there was anything.
The one thing that stuck out to me, I will say, because I don't think you were there to see it, but remember when you and I went over there and scouted and looking at the spot that we were going to set up, and it's like, hey, let's set up over here because we had all the thorns that were, lined up. So we were a little closer to them, I think, than we wanted to be, and Scout had that speckled belly. It fell right behind her in that little channel, and she avoided the thorns getting in the water, but she got the speck and came back into the thorns, and she pushed through those, and her determination to get through safely was incredible. So,
it was fun to see.
She could have easily freaked out, but she continued to push, and she got through, and she brought the bird to hand to Eric, and so I thought that was pretty special for her to push through that, because a lot of dogs might have freaked out, backed off, but she had that determination to get back to Eric.
Right, and that was her first spec.
First spec, and just to give you an understanding, we're hunting facing the large body of water. We have a little bit of water behind us where we put a couple decoys, and that speck probably landed 10 feet behind us. And there was thorns, and she took the easy route in. But with her, it doesn't surprise me. She started getting in those thorns. At that point, it's like, she's got to go. So she pushed that speckled belly through those thorns up a hill, too. This isn't flat ground.
Right.
She's going up a hill. So
And a small dog.
Small dog.
How much does she
55
weigh?
pounds.
Yeah.
There you
55 pounds.
Yep.
So, first speckled belly, and and what you learn is just let the dogs go, read them. She was determined to get it through there, and she would have figured it out somehow, and just let them go.
Yeah, that was a cool one. Now that you say that, and I was able to kind of peek behind. And for those of you kind of trying to picture what we're hunting in, we're hunting in the Lucky Duck 2x4 blinds, but because of the number of people we have two of them. So really, do you know how long a Lucky Duck 2x4 is?
They're 10 foot long, so 20 foot with the two.
So I'm 20 feet away from Eric because he's on the other side with the dog. We really go as overboard as we can on the hide, so we're brushing in. So I can't see Eric. Eric can't see me. It's hard to communicate at that distance at times. And so I have to step out and walk around the blind over to him to see it. So that's why I didn't see maybe the initial send, but I saw exactly what you just described come back. So that was cool. One note that I'd like to make is specifically with the ice. So I know all of us love kind of the our dog breaking ice, and it's fun to watch, and it's fun to watch that determination, things like that. But Brock, he was pretty beat up after that first day on the ice. And to the point that one of his legs really swelled up. I mean, significantly, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah. A lot.
For sure.
Yeah. And so this is where traveling and educating yourself on what to travel with and when to give what is so important, because so I always travel with Rimadyl. Rimadyl is anti-inflammatory. It's a painkiller of sorts, right? I'm not saying it's necessarily a painkiller. I always feel like that's an extreme word, but it is. That's what it does.
Right.
The next morning, Brock was his puppy self, and so just having that available. If I didn't have that available, I believe that was on Sunday.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So we're on a Sunday, right? So there's not going to be a vet open, right? It's just how these things go. But having that available and having it to where I could administer that and know that's what he needs and give that to him right away, it really made it to where I didn't have to get into a bad spot or a bad situation. And Brock was not breaking the ice in the half inch that we were talking about, but he was the day before that where he did have to get into some situations. He was breaking ice and probably was thicker than what we thought it was once he got out there in kind of that deeper spot, which I thought was kind of interesting. It seemed to be deeper the further he got out, but I guess that does make the thickness. Being from Wisconsin, we always know that the shallow stuff freezes first, right? Eric knows that being a Minnesota guy. But now thinking of it in my head, the further out he was getting was deeper. That wasn't the case because it shallowed out on the other side of the field. So I guess it does make sense. The further out he got, it got thicker. But regardless, I just think that was a good note that traveling with your dog, especially in hunting environments, you have to prepare for something that is going to happen. One thing that I always do too, I think I've talked about this in the past, is if I'm hunting in an area, I go on Google, I find the closest vets around. I do vet out with Google reviews and things like that to try to have the best vet that I feel like I can. I do try to see if they have like an emergency number and things like that. And I save that contact in my phone because it's just one of those things. If you're in an emergency, your dog needs attention right now, your mind tends to race and go 100 miles an hour, and just the convenience of, hey, boom, I've already done my research. I know who I'm calling. Call. You have a game plan, and I think that helps a lot. Now, knock on wood, and I pray that we don't have to use that number that I have in my phone here for where we are, but it's something I'm prepared with if we do need that. So I think it's a good note.
I kind of chuckled in a joking manner when you said, being prepared, having what you need for your dogs in case of emergency, and you nicked yourself yesterday with with a knife, right? And your buddy Mike says, I bought this, emergency kit with Band-Aids and gauze and all this stuff a couple years ago just in case something ever happened. He's never had to use it, and you nicked yourself a little bit, and he had that that first aid kit, so to speak, to get out and get you a little Band-Aid.
Williams knife.
Williams knife. To
Williams
get you,
knife.
get
Which
you.
now I'm going to buy one because that's sharp.
Yeah, it's that bird knife is something
Bird
else.
knife
I
was
like that.
impressive.
Yeah.
So it was funny. I was rewatching all these videos, and this morning he's getting the Lucky Duck swimmers together, and I'm like, I'm videoing him, and I'm like, hey, what'd you do to your finger? He's like, I cut myself. I said, with what? Because the knife I'm gonna buy.
They are nice knives.
Oh,
Go
they're
check out
awesome.
Williams Knife Company and get yourself a bird knife. It is awesome.
Yeah,
we
they're
love
nice.
those things.
Just be careful.
Yeah, be
Just
careful. Okay, so let's go into day 3, which is today a little bit, because a couple cool things. So Scout had her first speckled belly retrieve yesterday. She had her first snow goose retrieve today, right? Which I think that's really cool. Like you start kind of knocking off some of those the list of birds, if you will. I want to talk about a couple specific things that bounce out to me. So, but before I do that, Eric, what was what stood out to you today? Like a couple memories.
Well, probably the biggest one was the control break that Scout did. Being day 3 with you and I, you got to understand, Josh is on one end, I'm on the other. And day 1, you tell me if you want to send him or not. I thought you and I worked together extremely well on this one, because you cannot duplicate this stuff. So if you get an idea, Scout has been sitting in a Visilab, elevated one, not a low profile. So she gets a little antsy, and controlled break where she left on the shot and then sat down right away, waiting for the next command. And then there we are, just waiting for the next of what we're going to do. And I think I said to you, well, what do you want to do now? And you said, well, what do you want to do? And I sat
Trying to
there.
keep in mind it is your hunt.
It is. And I'm sitting there going, and finally you just said, well, let's bring her back and let's do an honor, because we did knock 2 birds down on this one. So we set it up where I brought her back to heel, and then you sent strike on one. Scout honored it. And then in the end, I sent her on the second one. And that was a scenario that I have never, ever been able to duplicate, because I'm usually by myself. So when I'm by myself and they break, now I have a decision to make. Do I just go get that bird myself and bring it back, and she doesn't get that? So in this case, there was a lot of things that happened on that one.
Yeah. Well, and a couple of things that we had talked about I thought was really neat is, so you brought up the by yourself scenario. And this is really, guys, you hear me talk about this a lot, but the truth and the reality is that hunting is not training. Okay? It's not testing. It's not trial. This is a horse of a completely different color. And although you're preparing for these situations, this is not a training setup. Right? So everything is not going to go perfectly. You don't have control over what goes on. You don't have control over the setup. You don't have control over, hey, I'm going to put him away, make him sit and think about this for a few minutes, come back out. This is the live game, right? Like this is not practice anymore. You're in the game, and you have to make decisions on the fly, and you have to decide, hey, I have some lemons here. How do I make this into lemonade, or do I just completely throw them all away and say I'm done? And so the control break part of it I thought was neat, because I asked you too. I said, did she stop herself? And you said yes. So she started and stopped. So for those of you that don't know, control break would be she wanted to break, and she did to an extent, went a couple feet, but then she corrected herself and sat back down. So it was a break, but a controlled break because she wasn't out of control. To me, what that shows is that she understands her training. She knows she's not supposed to go. She knows she's not supposed to break. And she did the right thing by correcting herself. So on one hand, you want to give her the reward of like, hey, you did do this right. You thought about it. You made the correction yourself. You know what you did wrong. I want to give you the reward for that. And then on the flip side, the perfectionist in all of us goes, but it wasn't really right? Like, really should have stayed there. So how right was it, right? And it's kind of this dichotomy of you have a lot of angles to look at this, right? So you want to correct her, but you don't want to punish her. You want to know she did it right, but also know she did it wrong, right? Like there's a lot of dichotomies in this specific situation that we could dig into. But I think what was neat about this is the opportunity that had presented itself. There were 2 birds and not 1. And that right there gave us a much clearer picture of what we need to do. Hey, we're going to call you back, which is what you did. She came back, sat at your side. And because we have 2 birds, you're still going to get a reward, but I'm going to call you back to where you should have been, make you sit down to make sure we really understand you're not going to get rewarded for that action. You're going to sit here and you're going to honor. Boom, strike goes and back. Okay, now you still get your reward. But we're kind of grinding it in here, right? Like you know what you did wrong, you didn't get the reward, but you were still good in these areas, so you're still gonna get the. Like if she would have completely broke and you're screaming, hollering, hit the collar, on the whistle, and she reluctantly comes back, we probably then say, yeah, she sits and strike picks both of these up, right? But again, this is, I think I would challenge anyone out there that it goes through these kind of scenarios, or maybe hears a story and it's like, oh, like why did someone handle their dog this way, or why didn't they think about this, is putting yourself outside of your box. So my box is I rarely get to hunt by myself anymore. My absolute favorite hunt that I had last year, my absolute hands-down favorite, was the last hunt of the year, and it was just me and Clyde, and we went out in the woods and I shot 4 greenheads and 4 shots, and we literally sat there for the rest of the night and watched the sun go down. Like it was perfect for me. But I rarely get to do that anymore. And because of it, my brain doesn't think in a 1-person, 1-dog situation. So you brought that up. Like, so if I'm by myself, okay, well, there's a lot of situations that come up there, right? So by yourself, okay, do you call her back and you go get that, bird, and then go send her on the second one? Like, how do you do that? But then think about everything that could come up. Okay, what if you are hunting big water and it's too deep to get out there, right? Your wind is likely in your back. The wind is pushing that bird away. Like, do you let that bird potentially get away? Well, no, right? Hunting a river system. By the time you've already thought about this, that bird is already probably another 50 to 100 yards downstream. Like, you need to think and think fast. So, more times than not, you're going to say, just send her. Well, does that turn into an uncontrolled break the next time, right? So there's just so many things to think about. And this is a lot of reading the situation, combating. I was thinking fastball, you threw me a curveball, I still got to hit it, right? So I loved that part of today too. I thought it was a really good moment.
Yeah, it was good. We want the dogs to be calm and under control. I like the fact that there was no yelling during this situation. This was actually small talk going on with you and I.
100%.
Mm-hmm. And there was no voice raised. And, okay, how are we going to work through the situation? And I thought, with your suggestions and your ideas on knowing what to do in this case, we have to make decisions fast, too. Because we got birds out there, and she's on edge waiting there sitting. I cannot duplicate that, what happened today. Mm-hmm. I just can't.
Yeah.
A couple things I wanted to point out with that was, number one, like Josh had mentioned, I know it's on a story on Instagram. It's only up for 24 hours. So I think it's important to mention in here for people that are listening to this past that. But when she was stopped and you recalled her, a lot of people's initial tendencies is to say their name and then recall them. Well, when you say their name, what have you trained them all summer to do on a mark? You release them to go get that. So Josh had pointed it out right with you on that was, hey, don't say her name. Just, blow your whistle, bring her back. Just recall her. So, if you would have said her name, that could have turned into a totally different situation for maybe somebody not in that particular situation to say, oh, my gosh, now you're breaking. Now the screaming and yelling and your tempers go but in reality, it was your fault because you released the dog on something that she's trained to do. So, and the second thing is.
Can you hear that part on the video?
Oh,
You hear that?
the whole conversation.
Let me just
That's
say
really
something on
interesting.
that, because you said, when this is happening, you said, you'll hear it on the video, guys, if you listen. Don't say her name.
Don't say her name.
And I don't know if I would have said her name, but you said that, my brain, okay. But watch the video. I say here, she's on her toenails and she actually takes a couple steps forward, hoping that she heard Scout, but she didn't hear Scout. And you'll see her take a couple steps. Shoot. Yeah. All right, I got to come back. But by you saying that was key in that situation.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that's easy to do in a lot of situations. You know, when you're so used to saying their name, like especially house dogs, you know, it's always, for my instance, Timber or Deuce, you know, Timber, come, whatever. And then when you tell them to sit and all of a sudden you say their name and you've taught them to go off of their name. And so they, not that you intentionally do that, but you know, accidentally say it and they're trained to go, okay, hey, said my name. So I'm going to go do, you know, I'm going to comply. So, but I was just going to add that into that.
Yeah, I just think that it's a natural reaction to want to say the dog's name when you're addressing them in a lot of situations. But even if you ease into it, in that situation, the dog is on edge already, right? On her toenails, like you had said, looks like a rubber band ready to snap. And when you say, come here, whatever you're going to say, it's just not likely that dog is going to go, okay, flip right around and come right to you.
Right.
Because they're looking at, I mean, I think this is something to appreciate. They're looking at a job that they want to do literally more than anything else in this world. And if we all had things that we enjoyed to do that much, I mean, wouldn't that be something to appreciate, right? So literally the thing they love to do more than anything. So when you say, come, they're probably going to go, just like you said. Are you sure you said that? Right? And I think naturally the easy, quick follow-up, if you think about how you would respond in this situation, especially you're in front of people, you are in front of cameras, you know, on this hunt, which adds a whole nother element. It's come and it's Scout come. Like I think it's just natural. Yeah, you just followed up with that. And when that happens, then you do give them that one. And we actually had one earlier I can't remember if it was Missouri or where we were, but a lot of times we shoot, right? And, you know, there's times that's like, okay, so like Rob needs to get out so he can get a photo or an angle, or like you need to get, you know, Bret needs to get in his spot. And something was going on. I think I was talking to Rob because you were next to me. And shots go off and great, everybody puts their guns down, everybody's good, that's awesome. And Rob, I think, was saying, hey, where's he gonna go? And and he said something, and in the course of he and I having this conversation, I had said, I think he said, like, who are you gonna send? And I think I said, well, I'll send Brock first. Well, when I said Brock, it was boom,
he was gone.
And like I went to say something, and then like relax, and all I heard from behind was Brett's voice. Do you remember what you said?
I said you can't blame him for that one.
Yeah, that's exactly what you said. And we laughed about it, because like
you can't get mad at him.
He did it right, I did it wrong.
Yep.
And so anyway, it's just kind of interesting. You don't realize how cued and dialed into that one word that that's what they're looking for.
Right.
So you just thinking about those things. If I don't want her to go, I just can't say her name.
Right.
And that's easier said than done sometimes.
Yeah. I'm going to compare this to parenting, because as a parent, when my kid does something that maybe they've messed up on, the very first thing, at least my mom, dad did the same thing, the very first thing out of their mouth is Bret Andrew Ayers, or Emma Grace, or Lauren Rose, or Mason Andrew, or whatever. You say their name just as a reaction. And the same situation here is the first thing you want to do is address them, because, as a person, you address, and just that's your natural reaction is to address them by their name. Well, you've trained them to go on their name, and what's going to happen? So you can't get mad at that. Even though, you're no, it's probably going to be your first reaction, but, you reel it back and go, you know what? That's my fault. That's my fault as a handler. And he did exactly what I want him to, or she did exactly what I've trained him to do, and that's it. So, but the second thing that I wanted to, that popped out with me through that is I get a lot of questions in Retriever Roadmap, of my dog's doing this or my dog's doing that. And, everybody has different standards. And it just it's all what what your expectations are. So, for instance, you hunting by yourself, you hunt by yourself. I hunt by myself sometimes, or I hunt with one dog, with my son or whatever. But if she would have creeped, went to the water's edge, and you're out there all by yourself, what's your expectations? Is your expectations I'm just going to let her go, get it? Or is your expectations no, she's not supposed to do that. I'm going to bring her back, and I'm going to go get it. And
there's not a right or wrong answer.
There's not a right or wrong answer to that. And that's what I tell people within the community is, this is totally up to you. I consider myself a pretty strict trainer, and I think I told you that today. If my dog creeps one step, I go pick it up. I don't care if it's 200 yards out there. I'm walking my butt out there. I'm picking that mark up because he didn't comply with what I want him to do. Now, somebody on the other hand may go, oh, that's okay. That's okay. And end up releasing the dog. So it's totally up to your expectations in my mind. And in that situation, hunting with yourself, because I hunt a lot with myself. And same thing. Okay, if in this scenario you're by yourself, let's say we were in a big body of water and she breaks. Well, now I've got to go back, 50 yards. I got to get my boat. I got to start my boat up. Now I got to drive my boat out there to pick up the dog or the duck where I could easily just send the dog to go get it. If your expectations is to let your dog go get it, let him go get it. If your expectations is no, he didn't do what I wanted him to do, you go get in the boat, you drive out there, pick up the duck yourself, the dog doesn't get a reward. So I just get that a lot in the community, and people are always looking for the right answer. And like it's by person, of what your expectations are.
One thing that when you say expectations is, I think it's important to address that expectations can change on a daily basis even. One of the things that came up with me, which I'm sure we're going to talk about at some point, was Strike's blind that he ran today. And he popped on me once, on that blind. Now, in a training scenario, if he popped, I'd call him all the way back in, we'd reset, and we'd run it again because I don't want to give him a reward for popping. Popping, again, if you're unaware, would be he's turning to me and looking for a cast without me blowing the whistle. But we're in a hunting situation now. And I'm not saying that things change, but I'm saying there's a lot of other factors that come into play. So he is lunging through water. Right? Wind is blowing crazy. The water aspect alone, and he's out at this point, I think when he pops, he's probably out there 250, 300 yards. And he turns almost reluctantly, but he turns and he looks at me. And here's the thing. I don't know. Maybe there was a noise he heard that he thought that I whistled him, right? He has already worked his tail off to get all the way out here. He needs to go another 150 yards before he's going to hit what we're running for in that bird. It would be foolish of me to run him all the way back because he popped. In a training situation, I'm doing it, right? But we're cold, we're wet, you are in about as difficult of water to navigate as possible because you just can't quite swim, but it's not shallow enough to be splash water, so you have every stroke or every stride is pushing against you with every bit. Like, that would be foolish of me to call him all the way back. Okay, so I give him the cast. Different than what I would do in a training scenario. Now, in a different circumstance, if this afternoon on the spec hunt, when it's a dry field and the wind isn't going as much and there's a lot of different factors, okay, maybe I do call him in because I know you popped there and I know that's not okay and I know you're better than that, bring him back in. But different scenario, my expectation changed in that environment on that fly. And quite frankly, we were successful because of it.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to call him all the way back in with a wind blowing against us, that bird is already being pushed. And there's just a lot of factors, I guess, is what I'm saying. And what I think is interesting is, because I'm sure it's out there, right? I'm sure you have the armchair jockey that is going to make a comment about that pop or about something like that. But this is real, one. And two, hunting is different than training. Mm-hmm. It 100% is, right? So, and this is where I really butt heads with my buddies that are so into the hunt tests, okay? Because hunt tests aren't hunting, right? And I feel like I can say that because I run them, right? And I'm very, 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 very good friends with the people I have these conversations with. But the people that don't hunt their dogs because they are playing the game, that's great. Mm-hmm. I have nothing against that. But don't critique a dog that is in a completely uncontrolled moment getting a job done. Don't compare that to your very controlled training setup. Mm-hmm. Two very, very, very different things. Mm-hmm. And they're different. There's just so much that goes into it. I'm going to go down a complete rabbit hole if I dive into it anymore. But it's one of those things that just why it irritates me is because of the retriever roadmap community. Because it has been so good about understanding all of that. It's been so good about it. I've never seen a negative bash back and forth.
Never been.
Somebody asks a question, somebody's like, hey, I'm struggling with this. Somebody asks something like that. Everyone is so great and supportive of how to lift each other up. Love that. One of the probably the biggest reasons I love that community. But it's one of those things that when we hear people encounter things like that, they're like, well, so-and-so said that it should look like this.
Right.
And it's like, that's fine. If you're running on a tech pond when it's 70 degrees outside and everything is manicured and is groomed and you know exactly you're running to this flag, and you're like you are in a very, very, very different scenario, right? So it's okay your expectations change due to the environment that you're in. So I guess, again, the reason it irritates me is I don't know. I'm going to get more into this than I want to. I hate the whole bullying aspect of things. Like, I do this, so I know better, and you should be doing that, and that's ridiculous, and all. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
So, anyway. I'm going to stop because I'm going to get too far into this.
That's one thing that I've said. I know I've made a comment to you. I might have made it to you, but there's I think at Game Fair you and I talked about this was, that's the one thing I love about our community is everybody's so positive. Everybody's so supportive of everyone. We haven't had any negative comments. I haven't had to go in there as a moderator and say, nope, that's not going to happen. We can't talk about this. I haven't had to do that. And that's what I love about it. But I see other retriever training communities where somebody says, hey, my dog's doing this and I can't, and then right away, oh, you dumb butt, you shouldn't have done this, and I can't believe, it's just like, this guy it could be his first dog. You have no history of what this guy's doing, and you have no idea what's going on. So why are you sitting here belittling him, and making him feel like a total moron? Where you don't even know the situation besides the question he asked.
That's just it.
So that's like I said, I'm not going to get down that rabbit hole either, but that's what I love about the Retriever Roadmap community is the support of all the members, and just it's fun. I love seeing the interaction with everybody within, and it's just really fun. So one thing before we get into the blind, because that was super fun to watch, just like, I've been a part of a lot of cool blinds with your dogs, but would you say some of the stuff that's going on, and I hear you say this quite often, you say it within Retriever Roadmap and some other stuff, but that hunting will unravel your training. Mm-hmm. Do you say some of these situations that have happened here is going to unravel? So let's say Eric's situation, that's something you can't train for, right? And there's a lot of things going on. Never hunted with another dog before, so you want to talk a little bit about about that. I don't mean to throw you a curveball.
No, it's great because I'm going to add a whole other layer to this that we've never talked about. So, yes, hunting season is naturally going to unravel training season. It just is. And for all the things we just talked about, the uncontrolled environments. Okay, so good example. So, when you train with Scout, what kind of blind do you train out of? Like, do you have a blind that you train out of?
The only one would be the Invisilab just coming up, but I don't have a Lucky Duck 2x blind we're training out of, so no.
Okay.
No.
So, how many different blinds or blind scenarios has she hunted in the past 3 days?
It's been probably 3 different ones because the one we did today with the speckle belly, we tried something new too.
So, three days,
Yeah.
3 different scenarios, right? And you don't like. I couldn't even tell you, hey Eric, prepare for these situations because like we don't know like a certain setup or there's a reason that we have to change what our ideal plan is. Well, now all of a sudden she has to roll and adapt with this, right? And so when there's something new, it's going to throw her off, it's going to throw you off, right? Now you guys have handled it great. I've been actually incredibly impressed with how she's rolled with the flow, with how young she is. There's so many things. She's been great. But when there's just, I guess where I'm going at here is like even something as simple as that, there's no way you can prepare for it all. And a lot of dogs get anxious and antsy and all of a sudden, hey, what I'm used to and comfortable with is no longer here. So maybe the rules are off or maybe the rules get bent or maybe the dog's going to push. There's just so many things. And so I always use the example of Brock. This was probably 4 years ago now. I'm just gonna guess, about that. But Brock got to the point that he was the dog that picked up our cripples. So we sailed a bird. We always sent Brock because he's Brock, right? He's got that big motor. He's gonna stretch out. He's gonna reach him. Well, almost every time he got to him, they would dive. And so he got really good, like I have watched Scout doing over the last few days. He's gotten really good. She has gotten really good in the last few days. But he was really good at understanding how to handle cripples. Boom, gets in the area, it dives. He'd wait, scan. He'd see a ripple and bird come up, poof, over on it. If it dropped again, he'd stop, scan, right? So he did this over and over and over and over and over again. Well, then it was the last hunt of the year. He does the same thing. And I'm just letting him go because he's probably 150, 200 yards away. And all of a sudden, I see that bird, and it's probably 60, 70 yards to his right. So I stop him, and he gives me like this slow look like, what? Like, let me do my thing. And I give him an overcast, and he does like a 2-second pause. Right back to it. I give him another tweet, and I can continue with the story, but I've told the story before, so I'm going to cut it short. Anyway, he ends up that after a few times, yes, he does take the cast, and he's successful, but in a training situation, he would have been like, boop, boop, over, done, right? But he had convinced himself, hey, I'm good at this. I got this. I know how to handle this. I've done this 100 times already in the last month, right? I got this. And a situation like this, 1, I can't train for cripples. 2, like that's a situation where it unraveled training season, right? Because he didn't take my cast like he should have. But it was the environment. Now, here's the next ripple that I'm going to put on this that I have not talked about. And that's because it took time, right? I wanted to really let it soak in there, but I feel like this is the right time because we've seen it firsthand here. Hunting also solidifies training. We have seen that here with Scout these last few days. We have watched her, I believe, and I'd love to get your perspective on this. I have watched her elevate. She was a different dog today than she was on day one. And it's because of opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. I mean, it's the repetition, right? And everything that you've worked on, Eric, We've watched it. We know it, right? Like even the control break, she knows she's not supposed to do that, and she hasn't been doing it, right? She's been very, very good. Her marking has been great. She's been running her blinds really well. I mean, she's been very under control. She's been honoring really well, which is the one thing you were concerned about. Has she challenged on an honor yet?
She has not challenged on an honor.
So, I mean, like so many things that like you're seeing this go, toosh, like she's got it. You know, and that part of it is fun too. You know, we've identified some things, and we can talk through that a little bit here too. Because you asked me, what are the notes that I should be taking of this to go into the training season? We can talk about that. But let's just talk about it right now because I think it's some good stuff. You know, the big comment that I had was, and this is 100% classic young dog thing, and she loves her eyes. She loves using her eyes. And the reason is that she's gotten really good at marking because she's marked a lot of birds this year, right? So she gets it. Hey, I watch it fall. I go get it. And what is interesting is often when you have a dog that's very eye heavy, they challenge you on blinds. And she has not done that. She did it one time today. She has not done that to you that I've seen the whole rest of the trip. So even though she's very eye heavy right now, or what I would say is she also submits and is very under control with you too, which is really neat. Now I think today was a little bit because she was jacked up. Right? I mean, we've had a lot of action over the last few days. We had a lot of action today, and I just think she was excited. But on this particular one, Eric was trying to send her on a blind that it was a cripple bird that was swimming away. And she kept wanting to suck back into where the last volley, those two spoonies that we had actually talked about, where they went splash, splash, like right there. And she kept wanting to go back there. And it took you 2 or 3 casts. But on the last whistle, this was hilarious. On the last whistle, she turned for the cast and literally stood up on her back. She looked like a meerkat sticking up, and literally stood up on her back. And she was trying to look as like the last ditch effort of, am I sure it's not over there? Because I really want it to be over there. I really think it is. And she sat back down. She looked at you, and she took the cast. I just think for you in this situation, this is so great because you can say, all right, I'm going to work heavy on taking her eyes away. I'm going to run more blinds than marks early on. Really make her commit to that. Really make us work on that, and make it to where she's not pushing me and challenging me on that. Specifically, a refusal on, hey, I've got a blind set up at, again, let's use the clock. So I got a blind set up at 2 o'clock. We're going to turn to 9 o'clock. She doesn't know the blind is there. Throw a mark, and then say no, heel, turn her back and run that blind. That is something that I think would really help her because it's like, okay, what are we doing? Like I'm with you, whatever we're doing, because I know I want to go there. I just watched it. But you're going to ask me to go away from that and run this blind. You now have a mark that you turn into a memory, right? You run the blind, which shows that she's a team player, which she already is. You can see that. But it's just, hey, this is what we're running right now, team. And then come back, because you will still get that. And I think that's part of this too. You'll still get that mark. But you have to run that blind first. And where this comes into play is in this situation, there wasn't a mark there, even though she believed that there was. But if we had that down, it doesn't matter if you think it's there or not. It's, I'm not asking you to do that right now. I'm asking you to run this blind. So things like that were really coming to me today as we were out there.
Yeah, so a little background on her, and Bret can contest this. Earlier in North Dakota, she would just, on blinds, pop and just, I'm going to stop and look at you because I know, she knows I'm going to get her there. So then we worked on that. And of breaking that throughout the week. I hunt on weekends. This weekend, especially today, when I blew the whistle, she'll stop, but you said it best. I didn't think about it until you told me her eyes. She'll stop, but she is scanning everything, and she'll eventually find me when she's ready to give her a cast. And she did stand up. It was really funny when I don't know if it's on a video or not, but she did stand straight up because I'm not going to look at you yet, but I'm going to get about 3 feet higher here so I can find that bird. So the eyes thing was really good, but that's how she's trying to find these birds right now. And I can't duplicate that on a training scenario, when she knows there's piles over there, piles, she knows that game. But when you have birds, like live birds diving and swimming around, that's just different. Now, we have access to video here. So you said something interesting on the birds that were diving. And you said, watch this. She's learning now on these birds that are diving. She's using her eyes, and she was watching the ripples underneath the water of where that bird is, because these birds will go down a little bit. And then she, instead of just guessing, she figured out, okay, I got to find these ripples of where it's at. And that was really neat to watch. And I'm used to, you guys, I coach basketball. I'm used to video watching all the time. I don't, it's super. If anybody can video your hunts, I mean, it's unbelievable to go back and watch this stuff because it happens so fast and you don't see these little things.
Now, not all of us have the luxury of having
No.
Rob Snell with a mega lens there, because we got to see it
super
first,
slow-mo.
right? But it was super neat, right? Because we watched her. We had talked about that. We didn't see it in this detail. None of us caught this live. I don't know how you could have caught this live.
Yeah.
But when looking back, you can see not only is she learning how to handle these birds when they dive as far as staying in that stationary area to give her the best center point, but we saw when these birds got down, they'd leave a little bit of a ripple on top of the water. They were underneath the water, so we can't see them. But she learned that that's what that duck was doing, and why that made her successful is she would follow that ripple. So when that bird popped up, boom, she's right there, instead of being 10 feet away and then jumps over to it and it dives again. I mean, that made her successful on that gadwall today.
Yep.
And so it was so fun to see. And this is where I geek out on the young dog thing, right? Like watching that development and watching them progress and watching them get better. I mean, it's you coaching, right? It's you developing these kids into being better basketball players, better human beings, better people, right? Like is a really cool thing.
Right. Yeah, I've got 3 comments I want to make. Number 1 is that drill we need to add to Retriever Roadmap. I think that's a fantastic drill. We need to add that to Retriever Roadmap. Number 2 is, what did you do in the office in the summer when she started popping? What did you do to correct her with her popping?
Okay, so I did forced to pile or blinds in where she had an idea where it was at, and we would run pile work and if she stopped on me and popped, I just bring her right back to heel, and we're gonna do it again. And
No whistles.
No whistles.
Whistles
Actually,
in your pocket.
okay, so let's go back. I overused the whistles. What happened? Too much early, as I was doing this in live scenarios. So now she was just used to that. So we eliminated the whistles, and then back in our training. And if she stopped, we just come back to here. Let's go do it again. So and I learned to do that again. This is the first year I've done this during the week. Maintenance stuff, just fix some things, and so that's kind of what we did.
Yeah, and that's great. And the third thing that I was going to add was with the video, and you kind of mentioned it, is like reading your dog. But a lot of people would look at that video and go, "Oh, hey, look, my dog's scanning this," and not really looking at the detail of it. And obviously, with the video, it's one thing. But what I want to point out with that is with your own eyes, when you don't have that, when you're reading your dog, dig a little deeper into what your dog's actually doing. Just don't look at him going, "Oh, that dumb butt, it's only doing this." There's probably a reason why it's doing it. So try to figure that out. Dig a little deeper into why, that it's doing this or doing that. And I think that video was super cool. And Josh pointed it out right away.
Yeah, I
He's
didn't
like,
see it until you said it.
I didn't see it, in the live scenario, and all of a sudden he's like, "Watch her," she's watching the ripples, and boom, she's on it. So, but no, that's all good stuff. I think overall, the last few days, like Josh said, watching her evolve, not just bringing her into, and I don't know how many dogs she's been around, but she's been around 4 males that she's never seen in her life, and right away they were, they got along great. And then to put them in a hunting situation together, she's evolved immensely, in the few days, and it's been fun to watch.
No doubt. No doubt. Let's wrap this up with the blind, because we got to talk about the blind.
Have to.
Have to.
Mm-hmm.
It was, for me, it was the highlight of my day, just because I was really proud of Strike with this. And so what happened was we had a group of specs come in but not really do it, but they were definitely, shootable, and we sailed one. And to the point that it was, one of those fly away, and then all of a sudden, way out there.
Right.
And so I took Strike, and I went down a little bit from where we were to the corner of the levee to send him from there. Just felt like I could get a better vantage point of where that bird actually fell, because I couldn't see it. And then also give him an easier, blind to not have to go, over levee, in the water, over levee, down the ditch, up the ditch, over the levee, into the water again. So it's kind of a two birds with one stone. But I wanted to really see where this bird was, and I felt like I could see it. I wasn't 100% sure. I felt like I could. And so he sent Strike. And what I love about Strike is, if you ever meet Strike, you wouldn't think he has the motor he has, because he's so dang calm.
He's chill.
He's so chill. And he's gonna be a fly on the wall. You're never gonna know he's there. He's quiet. He's calm. He's got great personality. If you haven't listened to the Strike story, you need to go back. I think it's episode 4. You need to go listen to that story. Because it's an incredible story, especially after the story I'm gonna tell you now. To think that a dog could go from that to this, it's incredible. And so, I send him. He takes a pretty good line. But the thing with this is that there are a couple clumps of dirt or something, and they look like a bird laying in the water. And so he's going and taking this line. It's like, oh, I got it, and he wants to get there, right? And so I have to stop him, cast him off that to get him back on line. And he does really well with it. He's not challenging me on it, because, again, this is no different than what we just talked about, Eric, right? Like his eyes are telling him something, and then I'm asking him, no, stick with me, trust me, right, and give him a angle cast out of there. So he did that. And now the water he was in was the absolute most difficult water. I think we might have talked about this a little bit already, but, it wasn't swim water. It was just too shallow to be swim water. But it's like it's too deep to be even lunge water. Like he can't even hardly lunge. Like he's trying to, right? But it's like the ultimate difficult water level. But he's carrying it, and again, he thinks he sees a clump, or he thinks he sees a bird. Goes over to it. I'm sorry. Before that, he popped on me. That was the pop, and he popped. And the first thing that went through my head, you mentioned this, the first thing that went through my head was not, well, what are you doing popping? My first thought was, I wonder what he heard. Right? All it takes is, maybe a pintail. Maybe he, as he's in the water, was like, oh, maybe that was a whistle. Like, I don't know.
Right.
But he was pretty confident when he turned. And this is something that I would really challenge all of you guys that are in hunting situations to think about, because he wanted to go left, and I stopped him right away. And one of the things I've said a couple times, I actually had to talk to Eric and be like, please do not take that personally. Like, I'm in the moment. Oftentimes, especially at a distance, if I see something like that, I'll just yell to the blind. I'll be like, don't move, or please stop moving, or like something like that. Because you think about a dog at that distance looking back at you for a cast. We're all wearing the same camouflage. We're all trying to do everything we can to hide. It's already difficult enough to see, like, when they start getting small, I promise you're getting small too.
Right.
And all it takes is, someone walking, in front of the blind, right to left. Oh, he wants me to go left, right? All it takes is someone telling a story and waving their arms. Like, how is that dog supposed to know you versus the other 5 guys that are standing there, right? So he went left. I stopped him again right away, and I gave him an angle back cast right, and he carried it. He got it. And we onyxed it. It was a 497.
497.
497 is what we on. Now, that is not his longest. I think Strike's longest as it sits right now is 575, and I think that was in the Dakotas either this year or last year. I can't remember. So it's not his longest, but crazy long, 100%. And the difficulty of the environment made this one special for me. You know, like that 575, I'm sure was in a wheat field or a cornfield or something like that. Very, very impressive. You know, almost another 100 yards, 80 yards more. But the environment made this one different. Yeah. So he got back, and this bird was beautiful, barred up, gorgeous bird. And one of the things I was telling these guys, what we are doing, Whitney, my wife, and I, is we're doing a new puppy nursery, and we kind of have a thing. I'm not gonna tell you everything until we're done with it, but I have some special things I'm doing with some special birds. That bird is gonna be one of those special birds.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the things that you're totally leaving out with this whole situation, two things. Number one, it was in the water, and number two, we're on a rectangle, and we're in the corner of that rectangle. And that dog, if you are, let's say, at 90 degrees, in the base of that 90 degrees, that bird's probably 25 to 30 degrees off the long leg. So you're sending this dog in an angle into the water to get that. So he could easily want to cheat the bank,
right,
to run down. So the level of difficulty, not only sending a dog that far on a blind on very few casts, but to send him in on an angle like that made it that much more impressive.
Yeah. Eric's buddy Mike made a comment of, why didn't you just keep walking down the levee and send him as you got closer and like straight across from it? It's a good argument.
It's a great question,
right? Because you could do that. I mean, I think you could make the argument you could do that about any retrieve, right? Like, you know, in a wheat field, well, why don't you walk 100 yards before sending them the last 80, right? Strike is a special dog. He's more than capable of that. I want to push him. I want to challenge him on it. It's what we do, right? That's what we work for. And I think that's one of the big reasons, plus, I don't want to walk that far.
Right. Well, I was just going to say that, like a normal person that says, okay, hey, my dog's is pretty good. You get to that water and say, okay, I'm going to send him. You line him up, back, runs down the shoreline. No, whistle tweet, recall him, come back. No, and you fight that. And because, okay, hey, I've reached water where I can get them in and go, and maybe they're not quite to that level yet,
right,
where you need to walk down that extra distance or go off to the narrow side of the rectangle, so to speak, and send them more on a straight line instead of an hard
angle. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and none of that is wrong.
Right.
I mean,
no.
what do you have to do to make your dog successful?
Back to expectations.
100%. Yeah, 100%. What were your thoughts on that blind?
Well, my thoughts was, I've seen videos of you doing it. I saw it live. And when we hit that bird, I mean, it sailed. And I was hoping it would come down, and we saw it. And like, okay, it's showtime now. And it's just impressive to watch a finished dog and you handle it, and to see it live and to get a better understanding of how far that is. Because I was trying to guess as we were watching. For me, it just makes me want to get to that point after seeing it. It really drives me. Someday I want to do that.
Right.
So
the videos never make it look as long as it is
until you're actually there and saw it. So we saw it.
Yeah.
We were all pumped up.
Yeah. We got back, and Mike even jumped at Strike oh my gosh, that was awesome. And Strike was what are you doing?
Yeah.
But it was really good. It was really good stuff. So
it's always fun from my perspective, because I'm usually over your shoulder with the camera. And for instance, today, because I knew the situation, I knelt down to get out of his view to let you go, because I think at one time you even took your hat off to give him more of a visual of one of the angle backs. But every time when they get to that bird, you always turn around with a big smile, and I got a smile on my face just witnessing the whole thing. And it's just a special, it's a special story. It's just special all around.
Yeah. Well, so the most special part to me of this whole thing is when they get back from a truly impressive retrieve like that, I do something that I know is is not normal, especially for a dog. Like for a dog guy, like you should be like, oh, I expect that. Like that's what that. But for me, like that's what we work for. And as you guys know, I'm big on celebrating wins. I'm big on that, and I want them to know how proud I am. I'm not going to. I just don't like the hold, heel, take it from, walk away.
Right.
Like, let's celebrate this. We literally work all year for this. And so oftentimes what I find myself doing is just, getting down on my knees and opening my arms and giving them a big hug and telling them how proud I am and just, like, having that quick little moment. I don't know why. It's just that makes it more special to me, that last little bit.
Yeah, I know on the Retriever Roadmap story that I posted, Rob had put together, like, a cool little reel of it real quick, just cut it up. That's what I ended up posting. I had video of it. It was kind of choppy because I was a little lagging behind. But I know I caught that. So I don't know if you'll end up putting that on Riverstone or whatever, but I just know in the Retriever Roadmap that's not shown in that particular moment, but I know that it's in the video that I sent you. So
yeah, it's good stuff.
But
so tomorrow we have one more duck hunt lined up.
Mm-hmm.
Then you head back to the Great White North.
Yeah, we're head back tomorrow afternoon. It's snowing, so
I
don't know how long it's going to take us to get home.
Yeah, well,
it's Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost Christmas, for sure.
Christmas.
So as we sign off, Eric, I want to thank you for spending the time to come down here. I can speak for both of us here. We have really loved having you here, having Scout here, having you guys in the field with us. I mean, this is just, again, the Retriever Roadmap community. I just feel like continues to bring great people together, and we really do truly feel like you're one of those special people that were brought into our life through this. So thank you so much for coming down.
I appreciate that. This has been an unbelievable opportunity. It's just I don't really have words to really explain it because the coolest thing about this is the duck hunting's fun, training the dog is fun, but fellowship and you truly surround yourself with quality people, and everybody on this trip, everybody you brought in. I mean, it's high quality people, and we shared some tremendous laughs, and that's the part that is the most fun for me. And especially in the blind when things are not going slow, and we got a couple one-liners going, and people laugh, right? And so I want to thank both of you for what you guys are doing, and you're building your community, and I'll just thank you on the behalf of the community, because I've got some comments here from people that generally are happy for me for being here, and you guys have done a tremendous job with this, and this was unbelievable, and I look forward to tomorrow morning, and it's going to be a sad trip home, but
Wow. It'll be sad to have you go for us, but we're only a day behind you because I have to be back for Christmas, and Bret has to be back for Christmas, and so we depending on how it goes, Bret and I might sit down and try to recap tomorrow. Unfortunately, we don't have. If we had our normal podcasting kit that we have at my house, we could have Eric phone in and do it that way, but we don't have the capability with their portable one. So maybe we'll try to line something up with them later on to kind of have a call and recap kind of the entire trip, something like that. Absolutely. But we'll come at you tomorrow, kind of give you a rundown of how tomorrow went and the game plan for the last day, and then we'll be heading home for Christmas, and we'll be back a lot in January. Mm-hmm. So so it'll be fun. So so Eric, thank you again for taking the time and coming down, and everybody make sure to stay up to date with Eric and Scout and all the progress that they're making with Retrieve Roadmap. So
if we don't talk to you, have a Merry Christmas.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Leave us a review on iTunes, and a special thank you to Eukanuba, because without them, we couldn't do what we do here, bringing this information to you.